Peace. Good morning, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Key. I don't know where that came from. I promise you, I talked to myself before this came about, and I don't know why I said key. So I don't know where it came from. Uh it's consistency is currency. That's the name of the podcast. It's like me talking to myself right now. But peace. Good morning, Miss Selena. Um, Yeah, this week has been, I know today is Tuesday, but this week has been very productive so far. So, question to you, how has your week been so far? It's only Tuesday. You know, what we did yesterday could be the beginning of what our next day is going to look like, and what we do now could potentially be the additive to how our attitude is going to be for the rest of the week. And what we do this morning could develop what our attitude is going to be for the rest of the day. So appreciate you. Welcome back, Miss Kelly. I'm gonna say it all the time. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about after the chaos. You know, we spoke yesterday in the chaos, but we have to understand that chaos is not always, because we understood from yesterday what chaos is. It is periodical. It is something that happened in the instant. It's something that happens in the moment. So if you ever been in some sort of chaos, put chaos in the chat, because I want you to open yourself up to more possibilities, because chaos was the moment and chaos was not the forever, because you do have access to happiness, but sometimes gaining access to happiness, it may be through the door of chaos. Now that sucks. I mean, that sounds terrible, but sometimes your happiness will come through the door of chaos. I might have to write that down. I'll write it down later. Um, it's true. I mean, you may find your happiness on the other side. You know, it just may be there, but you have to deal with it in the moment. But you're learning something while you're in that space. So let's go ahead and bring it up and bring it out, because we're going to be talking about after the chaos. So if you've dealt with chaos, let's talk about after the chaos. Go ahead and put after the chaos in the chat, because when you're walking through something, that means that you have come out of something. So if we're talking and communicating about after the chaos, that means that the wind and the rain and all that stuff has already done damage. It has already gone through the things that you were dealing with at that time, and it's going to begin to put you in a whole nother position, because chaos was the moment, and chaos was not your forever. All right, so we're about to jump 2 feet into this after the chaos conversation, and what I need you to do is go ahead and share this live on your in one of your active groups, because I know that there's a lot of people that's dealing with chaos right now, and I know there's people that is in chaos, and we want to let them know that after the chaos, we still got work to do. All right, so let's go back, because we communicated about it yesterday, and for those that didn't see yesterday's live version, or for those that did not hear yesterday's podcast, so I'm gonna go back. As we see right now, chaos. The definition of chaos has been defined as a state of utter confusion. Again, a state of is what we're looking at. The definition, a state of utter confusion, but we're highlighting a state of. Why we're highlighting a state of? Because a state of means a particular condition that someone or something is in at a specific time. So that means that your chaos is in that moment. Your chaos was that situation. The chaos was not your life. You have people that say, "Oh, my life is just full of chaos." No, what are you doing? That's an honest question. What are you doing? Because if chaos is A state of, and a state of is a particular condition that someone or something is in at a specific time. That means time's up. Time's up. Time's up and time's out for you to look at chaos as your forever, because it is not. It is a particular condition that you're in, but you have to begin to recondition the chaos in order for you to walk out of the chaos, because you're transitioning into a new part of you. But you have to walk through that door with your head upright and walk through that door with the same strength that you developed when you was in the threshold of the door, because once you crack the seal of the door, it's going to allow you to see things that you were supposed to see, because it's after the chaos. And we talked about controlled chaos. So the definition of controlled chaos, it's the R2 definition. This is me merging things. The R2 definition of controlled chaos is a high state of functioning when things look out of control. A high state, because if the state of is a particular condition, or chaos is a state of utter confusion, controlled chaos is you operating at a high state of functioning when things look out of control, when those things are not going your way, when the things that you're working for seems like it's working totally against you. You have to understand that you should look at how you operate in a high state of functioning, even when the wind is blowing everything that you're working towards or working on away from you. Let's jump. All right, so now we're talking about after the chaos. I just took you back into what we spoke about yesterday. So if you didn't hear yesterday's podcast, make sure you go to Anchor or go to iTunes or go to Google Podcast and type in there consistency is currency, and listen to yesterday's podcast, In the Storm. So we're talking about in the chaos. Now we're talking about after chaos. Now, one thing that we have to understand is we cannot predict the future, because remember, it said chaos is in that specific time or in that particular moment, but we can't predict the future because chaos has a weird way of popping up into our lives. It's just like the weeds that you find in your garden. It has a weird way of popping up and constricting everything that you're trying to grow, or the seed that you planted in your garden. But you have to understand it, because you can't predict the future, we have to ensure that we learn in the moment from our past. That's after the chaos, because if after is a past, that means it is not a present. That means that there was lessons that was learned in that moment. And after any chaos, we have to understand that we have just of a good shot at being successful and happiness than anybody else. Because far too often we look at chaos and we look at it as it's the end of our world. You have the ability to be happy like everybody else. So the mess that you're finding yourself in, that mess won't be messy forever. But you have to learn that there were lessons that was learned through the mess. But we have to stop trying to figure out the future and to create moments by working towards our purpose in our present. Like, what are you working on now? Create those moments now, because the moment right now is the only thing that we can actually be certain of. I'm certain of the things that I'm doing now. I'm certain of the moment that I'm in now. I cannot create the future, but I can create what I can do in the future by the lessons that I'm learning right now. So the first thing that we can look at what happens after the chaos is that we have to have and possess the ability to embrace the lessons. Trust and believe. There will be lessons that you're going to learn, but you have to embrace those lessons and know and understand that resiliency lies in all of us. Everybody has resiliency, whether it is a full blown resilient stuff happens, you can brush it off and blah, blah, blah. But we all have a level of resiliency. I'll say that because sometimes you don't feel as strong as you did yesterday, right? I mean, that's a true statement. Sometimes you don't always feel as strong as you did the last time you dealt with that situation. But when you begin to embrace it, that means that you understand it. That does not mean that you agree with it. That means I will absorb it, I will learn it, I will know what not to do again. Embracing it allows you to see the red flags when the flag is flying so high that you denied yourself of seeing it. But when you deal with the resiliency that have been laying dormant in our lives for so long, it will kick in. When you embrace it, it will kick in and will allow you to move forward in life. When you learn that particular lesson, because when we learn our lessons, we begin to develop new mindsets. We begin to develop a new way or create more space in our mental capacity to where we can say, I know what that feels like, and I do not want to feel like that again. So my storage space has enough room for me to feel happy. How many of y'all know people that in their mind is so much clutter? In their mind, there's no space for happiness because they have yet to begin to unclutter their mind, unclutter their thoughts. So therefore, they don't have the mental capacity to take on that happy space because they filled it with so much mess. They filled it and they dwelled in the chaos for so long that they don't see that chaos is just for the moment. But we have to understand that how much we're learning in the chaos. And we're learning so much about ourselves. Because when you learn that thing about yourself, you have the ability to stare chaos in the face when you see it again. You can identify it. You know what it smells like. You know what clothes it wears. You know all of that stuff because that chaotic moment was that moment. And that again was not that forever. So now as you begin to know how to identify what it feels like, you have embraced the lesson. Now it's time for you to develop that muscle memory. It is, because the mind is a muscle, right? Like your regular muscles. If you want to work on getting bigger arms, you're going to do curls. You're going to do things that work that muscle. If you want, abs or a chest or glutes or stronger calves, you're going to do things that develop that particular body group. But how come we don't do more things that develop our muscles inside of our mind? Because if the mind is a muscle, then we have to work on things that is going to make us stronger, because that muscle group is created from the lessons that you've just embraced. You're getting stronger at how resilient that you can be. That's developing that muscle, that muscle memory. Because if it is a muscle, it's like the muscle sometimes needs resistance as well as transition, because now it's growing and developing because it needs nourishment and positive energy. It's like, who are you putting yourself around that is sucking the nutrients out of your innermost being because they're not healthy for you? So after the chaos, that might be the person that you would no longer want to be around, because if that was the lesson, that muscle memory will kick in. You can do it over and over and over again because you don't want to be in that space, because you understood that chaos was for the moment and not for your forever. And when you get to that point, then you have to also clarify what's really important to you. Is it your inner peace? Is it your tranquility? Is it you taking long walks? Is it you focusing on you? Is it your kids? What is it? But you will begin to clarify what is really important to you, because when you embrace the chaos, you do move forward. You can move forward in life, but it gets crystal clear at what is important to you and what fulfills you or what satisfies you or what ultimately makes you happy, because you're going to begin to have some sort of self-discovery and self-realization at what makes you happy, because after that moment it began to become less confusing and less clutter inside of your mind. Because why? Again, it creates more mental capacity. It gives you more room to be happy. It gives you more room to smile, because there are people in our lives that don't put us in a space to where we're learning the lessons. But now when it's you putting you in the space to learn your lessons, that's when it becomes so crystal clear. Because when your mind really is clear, then it lets you see what's important to you. It lets you see all of the stuff that is going to create your what's next. And after that, you have to understand, I would say we, because it's not just you, it's me too. I'm learning as I'm learning, like back in the day when old folk, well, I ain't gonna say back in the day, there's people who still say, let me learn you something. I'm learning you something as I'm learning, myself, because we all go through something. All of us. No one is exempt from it, but it's what we do when we're in it that makes us resilient, because chaos can be transformative. It really can. It will make you stronger. It will make you faster. It will make faster, meaning thinking the way you think, that muscle memory. It will make you stronger. It will make you faster. It will make you that much more resilient than ever before, because there was a lesson that was learned in that. Because sometimes it becomes difficult. Sometimes it becomes unpredictable, and terrible experience have awakened us in the reality of our existence. And we have to begin to encourage ourselves, because when we encourage ourselves, we begin to transform how we see ourselves. We begin to put ourselves in a position to see us as coming out. Because remember, in the beginning, we were talking about going and walking through the door. That means we have transformed. It's like when they say, be transformed by the renewing of stuff. That means you have transformed yourself to be happy, because you have embraced the muscle memory that you know what it feels like to be happy again, because you have moved the clutter out of your mind. You have moved the clutter out of your space. And because you move the clutter out of your mind and you move the clutter out of your space, that gives you room to receive more blessings. It gives you room to receive. Just being in that happy space, it gives you the ability to smile more. Why? Because it's after the chaos. There's lessons there's lessons in the chaos that can be fulfilled when you recognize what chaos is to you in your life. And then you wash, rinse, and repeat. That's that consistency coming in. When you understand what it looks like and you've recognized it, then you know what to do when it comes back again. Because if happiness is what you want to, if happiness is where you want to be, and happy is what you want to be, then you'll start doing things a whole lot different, because you know what it feels like to you to be in that space. All right, that's all I have, and that's all I want to say, because right now, we've all gone through it. But what are we doing when we get to the other side? Are we taking other people with us? Are we being mentors for those who are in the chaos? Because if you figure something out, there may be somebody else that's in your circle that do not know how or have yet to figure out what after the chaos means to them, because they always seem to be in chaos. They have seemed to be chaotic. Their thoughts are not in the space or in the place to take them past the storm that they have always considered themselves to be in. But let them know that chaos doesn't last always. Chaos is not your forever, but the lesson is. I'll say that again. The chaos is not forever, but the lesson is indefinite. What lessons are you learning? What lessons have you learned in the state of chaos that you found yourself in? And when you learn that lesson, develop that muscle memory to be consistent at loving you, to be consistent at wanting to be happy, to be consistent at working on your happiness, to be consistent at working on your peace and tranquility, because at the end of the chaos, you will be standing and you will be able to be a blessing and a lesson to someone else who's in the chaos, because you walk through the door and you have begun to be transformative, because happiness is now you. Y'all be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow 7:30 here at Consistency is Currency. Y'all be blessed. Peace.